and we're here talking today about our darning thread, and then I took a really close-up look at our Sensa thread. And what that is supposed to do is it's supposed to make your mittens or fingerless gloves phone friendly. And so I'll tell you about my journey with that in just a little bit here. So last week our prize was for this Ultra Alpaca Chunky, and for this week we have a nice pair of these N20s, and actually they're called Extreme Winter Boots, right Jim? Boot socks, and they are fabulous. They're one of my favorite socks, and we got a huge shipment in yesterday and just put it away. So if you're looking for gifts for loved ones, this makes an excellent gift. I can't tell you. All my family members, they don't want anything else. They just want their socks for Christmas, so that's what they get. And so we got a new stock of that in, and also we got our lovely alpaca slippers. It's alpaca around the outside. It has a suede bottom. These are indoor use. They're not for running around outside. They will get a hole in them over time if you do that, if you're running around in the rocks. And on the inside here we have nice merino. These are the squishiest, warmest slippers you will ever wear, and they are in stock now. We finally got them in, so they're ready for you. Now, I did a couple things this last week. One thing I've been working on, and not enough, I need to get caught up on, is the Michelle Hunter knit along. And this one is her, it's a little, it's gonna be like a poncho type thing. And we're making two sides and mine are gonna look like this. And then I am going to be seaming them together, and they're going to have a nice cowl around the top of the neck area. And so I'm still working on that. That's a lovely yarn. It's called Sueno, and it is a bamboo merino blend, and it's fantastic. If you haven't used Sueno before, I highly suggest you make something with it because you will enjoy it. As we're going along, if you can go ahead and post your comments and your pictures of what you're working on, we love to learn from you too. So I always like to look at those comments, and I definitely look up the patterns and see what projects I'll be doing in the future.
Helen and Debbie said hi.
Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Debbie. Nice to have you with us. And so this last week I was just focusing on my darning thread and my Sensa thread. And while I'm going through it, the Sensa thread, as I said before, is supposed to make your mittens or gloves user-friendly, right? Cell phone user-friendly. So I just bought these mittens. These are double knit mittens that we have here at Alpaca Direct, and they're made out of 100% baby alpaca, and they're double knit, and so they're completely reversible. And I just love these things, and I thought, oh, I'm going to use some Sensa thread and make them cell phone user-friendly, so when we're taking the dogs for walks and I don't have to take my mittens off when I need to check the phone or something like that, or I need to help Jim with something. So anyways, I took out my Sensa thread, which is, it looks like this, and what Sensa thread does is it gives connectivity. It conducts, what did you call it,
electricity.
Jim? Electricity from your finger to your phone, so that you can go ahead and use your phone while your finger is in your mitten or your glove. The trick is your finger needs to be touching the actual thread. So when you're putting this on here, and I already took mine off, and I'll tell you why in a moment. You zigzag it. See, if you look like that, up close like that, so you work up one direction, then you come back and go back and forth, and you weave this mesh that we have here. And that is supposed to make it so that you can use your cell phone. Okay, so I did that over and over. I spent well over an hour. And then I just decided, well, I'll take it triple thick and just go through the whole mitten area where the fingertip would be. So this whole dime-sized area where my finger would be, and do it triple thick thread, round and around and around, trying to get this to work. Well, it never did. So I am not at all happy with this actual product, and I think that there are products out there that are more conductive than this actual thread, so I will be looking for this. So I'm actually going to send what we have in our warehouse at Alpaca Direct and send it back and see if I can find a new product that actually works. So, but I was really kind of disappointed because I had hoped that you know, we could have a new add-on for our mittens or gloves and have it be fantastic, but not so.
It kind of worked, but not good enough.
No, well, it didn't really work. Even if you take the thread and you put it on your phone, it wasn't reliable. You couldn't change screens or, you know, check your messages or anything like that. It wasn't that reliable. So, in my opinion, it's not useful. So I would not use this Sense of Thread, and I will be looking for more.
It's getting the boot.
Yes, it's given the boot. If it doesn't work, we don't like it, we're done with it. Okay, so then another thing that I was working on this week was I have these backpacker socks from Dahlgren. And I've had these since, I think, about 2006 or something. I've had them a long time. And I thought, well, I'll practice darning my socks. And I used a different color of darning thread just so you could see. And right here is where I darned the back of the heel. And the way you do it is you turn your sock inside out, first of all. When you're doing darning, you turn your sock inside out. And then they have these little, what are they called? Sock fishes or something like that, Jim? Mm-hmm. And they have little whales and different things like that.
Darning fish.
And darning fish. And Jody, one of my dear friends, she was telling me about it. But anyways, I don't have anything like that. So what I was thinking, okay, I have a glass from my, you know, from the kitchen. And I thought, that'll be about the right size of my foot. And what I'm trying to do is make the stretch the sock out a little bit so I can work on it and it won't wiggle around. So I just put it on my glass from home, right? And then I started weaving those threads. And you take a really long thread, and this is some of the darning thread that I used. This was the actual one that I used, and it is made out of wool. And it's by Coates and Clark, and it is really nice. It's by Regia, I guess it is. And it is 75% wool, 25% polyamide, and the price on it is really good. So if you're doing colorwork projects where you just need like a little tiny spot of color, but you don't want to buy a whole skein, you know, even the cheapest skein of yarn that I could find is $4 or something. Well, this is less than that, and it's made out of wool. So if you need to add a little color to something, you could double this and get your fingering weight that you're looking for and use it with your other wool knitting. It is really good quality. I really like it. But the gist of what you do when you darn these socks is you just go back and forth with one strand. You're just going this way, and then you turn it and go that way, and then you turn it and go that way, and you catch a little fabric. So, like when I did my little sample for you, I was catching the purl bumps. Now on this sample, I was kind of a dumb bucket, and I trimmed my tails before I finished. Bad idea, because you see how it started unraveling? Don't trim your tails until you're all the way done. And you don't really have to weave in your ends, because this whole thing is weaving in ends, really. And so all you need to remember that when you're darning an area, you want to get well outside the area that you're going to be darning and get a good amount. And if you feel this finished fabric, it is right back to at least as thick as your other fabric. It feels really nice and thick, and it is sturdy. It's going to wash really well, and because that's wool, it'll kind of felt a little bit in with the other alpaca that's in here, and you won't even know. If I did that in the brown colorway, you wouldn't even know that I mended it. And doing it this way doesn't create any bumps. So that is a fantastic thing to do. And I could actually mend all the way down here, but I don't know if I'll do that. It does take a long time. So if you're going to mend someone's socks, you better love them. Otherwise, you could go and trash it and buy a new pair of socks. But
mine to you.
yeah. Anyways, so this is basically the simple technique that you use for darning your sock, and it just involves going in one direction. The only things I thought that might be interesting for you is when you're doing it, you want to make sure not to pull too tight. You want it to be on these ends, because you can pull it in, make the fabric not as pliable. So when you're changing directions, I would almost say take your finger and put your hand on there when you're pulling your yarn through, so that you're holding it and you're not pulling it too tight on the edge, so you maintain that nice, well, you want it to be about the same tension as what you knit with. So if you're yanking your thread through and it gets too tight, it's not going to be the same tension. It's going to feel different on your foot when you're wearing your repaired sock, and you want it to feel as squishy as the day that you bought it. So this is what the work looks like on the outside. So see why you turn your socks inside out when you mend them? Because then you do the repair and you can't even tell that you repaired them. That's pretty cool, huh? So I thought that was a pretty neat technique that you guys can do. And so for instance, see how this sock has a complete hole? I also wanted to tell you that you can take this actual thread and you just leave those strands. You would leave the strands free and just drape them over at the same gauge, so that make sure they're not pulling tight, and you could just turn this inside out and do the same thing. And what you would be weaving in and out is the strand from the previous row. You could be weaving that in and out. So you can make a whole new fabric for your hole without just simply, because if you close it like that and you repair the hole, you're going to have a lump that you have to step on. And that might not be cozy. So you could repair this sock using this technique and just let that mesh sit there, and use the same color that this sock was actually made from. So use this as close to the tan color as you can get, and you could repair that hole and not have to throw your sock away. So that is another thought for you. Also, if you had a hole in a sweater or something like that, so this is an example where there was a hole cut in it. See? It's a big hole. And all I did my duplicate stitch right over the top of that and created a couple new stitches. That's pretty cool, huh? Just make sure that when you're doing that, so here's my hole, I went way over here and then way over here. So you stabilize that. And then you could take these and just weave these ends in, or you could even split the strands and kind of tie it into a little square knot, so that you could keep this from rolling back or pulling back any further. So as you're going along, if you like what you're seeing or you have any ideas of things that you've done, because I'm always learning, I would love to hear from you. So you go ahead and post those comments in the comment section, and don't forget, you'll be entered to win the N20s for this week. And don't forget to tell your friends and have them push the like button if they like what they're seeing. So this is another way, is using duplicate stitch. Now this up here, what this is showing you is this right here is a hole. So what I want you guys to think about, when you get a hole in something, stabilize it first so it doesn't go anywhere. And then you can work on the repair later, and you won't have more damage to the actual sweater that you love or the pair of socks. So I just stabilized it by going along, and if you look at these loops, I picked up the right leg of each stitch along, and then I turned it, and then once again I picked up the right leg of each stitch. Oops, I missed one in there. That's okay. And then I turned it again and went back and forth, and that's how I stabilized a hole, so that I could go back and repair it later. And you can do the repair right over this yarn here, and then just take a scissors and snip it later on. And that way you won't be confused as to which stitch is supposed to be where, because you've kept it in its original position. So that's another thing that you can do. So when I was knitting along this week, I was working on these Winterberry Branch fingerless gloves. So here's the fingerless gloves that I was working on this week, and I have knit these before, and I find that the cuff on this, it goes below the knuckle. It's not quite covered enough for me, and I've already made these into fingerless mitts before, and I decided this time that I would try to make mittens. So what I did, this one's really wet, so I won't put that one on because it's not dry yet. But here they are. Here's my mittens. And
Hold 'em
then,
up.
I'm sorry, what, Jim?
Go ahead and hold them up. Okay.
See the mittens? They're pretty cool. And so what I did is I had to do a few things to get this to work. And the things that I did were, first of all, okay, so you remember how many times I've told you make sure you read the pattern and know everything that's going on? Okay, I got in a big hurry. I got Ultra Alpaca. I wound up my colors and went home and then started reading comments. And they're like, my mitts are too tight. And I'm going, why is it too tight? So I looked at the yarn that she originally used, and it is Lamb's Pride worsted. Lamb's Pride worsted is thicker than Ultra Alpaca by just a smidge, but just enough to make those mitts tight. So I'm going, oh great, and I already wound my yarn. See, it never pays to charge 50 miles an hour straight on because you end up doing stupid things like I did. Okay, so what I had to do is I have my left and right glove chart, as she calls it. So I had to add 5 stitches to my overall pattern. So for this left hand, what I did is I do this repeat first. Then I went back to here and did all the way to here. Then I came over to here, and then I had to put 2 more stitches over here. So I added 3 stitches here and 2 stitches here. So a total of 5 stitches for my actual mitten. And that worked out great. And then on the other hand, I had to reverse it on my right glove. I had to start with my 2 stitches on that side, and then ended with the 3-stitch repeat. But that's how I fixed my problem on that. But okay, so this took me quite a while, and I don't recommend it. If you can look at the yarn that's supposed to be used and use that, your life will be so much easier. But no, I have to do everything the hard way. So anyways, what I learned about these wonderful, this little mitten set that I did, there's the one that's dry. What I learned about it was, next time I make these, I will probably, okay, and I always tell you, go with the pattern and go with the yarn. I will probably put my thumbs right here and make my mitten up to here, because these are so, well, this one's all wet. Look, these are so long on me. I guess I'm kind of short, you know, but they're so long. And it would be nice if they were down to here. So anyway, I'll probably make those again. I like that pattern. I think it's fun, and I enjoy it. So, oh, also on this right here, these are called French knots. And I wanted to show you real quick how to make these, because you could use some of this darning thread if you were doing a small project and make your French knots or what have you with this, and you wouldn't have to buy a whole skein of yarn. But for me, I found that I just found a little bit of red yarn, and I like the thicker look. So for me, the French knot that was thicker appealed to me more. So when you're doing a French knot, you start from the back and you come through the center. Then what I like to do, you can twist it as many times as you want, but I felt like at least 3 or 4 times was about good. And then I hold it. I hold that work right until the end. Because if you don't, it gets kind of sloppy. You see how neat that looks if you hold it? This one's been held, that one's been held, that one was not held. It's not quite as, but it's whatever you like. I don't know. I like the French knots. That makes, you know, you can use the French knot to do the center of an eye. You can use it for these winter bearing mitts. You can use it for all sorts of things, but I thought it was a cute little thing to show you that I learned this week. And so I wanted to show you that. What else did we have today? Oh, I needed to tell you who the winner was for last week. And where is that? Sorry, Jim. Okay, so the last week person won the Ultra Alpaca Chunky. It's a 50-50 blend of alpaca and wool. And I really like this yarn. I use it all the time. It's one of my favorites. And the winner is Sandy Sayers. Congratulations, Sandy. You go ahead and give us your address and we can send this out in the mail to you. Maybe you can make something fun. I like this indigo colorway. I thought it was kind of a neutral-ish for a boy or a girl. And so if you wanted to make something for your husband or whatever, it would work. Or you could keep it for yourself, whatever you like. So congratulations, Sandy. Don't forget for you guys to post your photos of what you're working on and tell us a little bit about yourself, and you'll be entered to win the prize for this week, which is the Extreme Sport Socks. Sorry. Extreme Winter Boot Socks. Sorry, I always call them N20s, and that's why I always get confused.
That's the inventory number.
Yeah, sorry. Anyways, but these are great. They're full terry, super, super thick. You can wear them around the house as slippers. They're fabulous. I just love these. I don't know what I would do with them. And they're like almost 50% alpaca, which is so warm on your feet. And I'm always freezing cold, so this is fantastic, especially as it gets cooler out there. And then we have these diabetic socks for diabetics, and they're super stretchy. And we also got a whole boatload of these. They're called regular dress socks.
Alpaca dress socks.
And they have a lot of alpaca in them. And I really like these ones. These kind of look like a men's business wear, but they're just about the right size in your boot. And being almost 50% alpaca, I really like these ones. I just started wearing them recently, and I am fond of them. I'm going to have to get more for myself for Christmas time. And did I miss anything else, Jim? Not sure. Oh, I forgot to show you these. These are actually gloves. And these are so small, but my hands are kind of tiny. Oh, but they do fit. And oh my gosh, those are nice. And so these are a little bit expensive, but if you think of 2 colors of baby alpaca and what it costs per skein, if you even bought the yarn to make these for 2 skeins of yarn, these aren't all that expensive. So if you have loved ones that you think might like those for Christmas, it's a great Christmas gift for them. So I guess what I found out this week while I was working along is that I don't particularly like our brand of Sense of Thread, but I will be researching and seeing if I can find one that actually works. And then the darning thread is an excellent option for those of you who want to darn socks. It's not actually that hard, and I was actually having fun with it. So, and you just think of a little basket and you just grab a little bit of sock and go in and out on those pearl bumps, and you can mend your own socks, especially if they're alpaca, because you're investing a fair amount of money in them. And you can also take this darning thread and use it while you're actually knitting your socks, and use it in maybe while you're doing your afterthought heel or for the heel itself, and then maybe again in the toe. And then if you did that, you could use that several different times, because this yardage actually goes further than you think it does. And the price point is excellent on it, and it's made from good quality wool. So I really like this stuff. So you guys, next week, what are we going to be talking about? 10 habits that will improve your knitting and crochet skills. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and we'll be talking about it next week. And for those of you out there that have any comments, please put them in the comment section and then share with us. Maybe post your photos. And we also have an excellent VIP Facebook group, and it is fantastic, and you can learn from others and see all their beautiful projects. Oh my goodness, they have beautiful projects on there, and so you can enjoy it as much as I do if you go there and you sign up. And so you guys all have a great week, and I will see you next Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. You take care.